It's nice to know that our House Corporation is moving forward with a lot of things, and I think the chapter will be very pleased with what's transpiring right now. Bill?
Thanks, Orville. I'll be brief because I know you guys don't want to listen to me. But first, thanks for attending. We've got people from all over the country, and I think that's phenomenal. This would have to be the largest event of this kind in the last 30 years, and I think that's fantastic. And really, Orville, thanks to you, I know that it's a tremendous amount of work. This wouldn't have happened without your effort and all the frustrations and behind the scenes things that you've gone through, and I really, really appreciate it, as well as all the things you've done for the chapter. I've been chatting with some of the guys in the active chapter, and they have talked about what an impact Orville has made for the chapter, and you know, as president of House Corporation, it really means a lot. I mean, we don't exist without a chapter, so again, thanks so much for everything you do. I wanted to just share a little bit of news with you, and it probably is prudent to start with a bit of history. Most of you know we did a renovation, really started on it back in 2007 with the fundraising, did the renovation in 2008. We had a budget for that. We actually came in under budget in the renovation, which is pretty unusual in the construction world. But we struggled with the fundraising part of it. We came up short both in terms of what we collected and in terms of what we raised. So obviously some things have to give in that process, and one of the things that had to give at that point in time was the furniture in the living room. Unfortunately, it was the most noticeable thing, but we felt that the money needed to be spent for the infrastructure and safety things, you know, the egress kinds of doors and electrical safety and heating and all those kinds of things that are behind the walls that need to go in. So at any rate, I mean, without giving you all the details, I think we made the right decision in going forward with the renovation at that point in time, which was just before the start of the financial crisis in '08. I think had we not gotten it started before, then we might have been in a world of hurt. So at any rate, we did go forward. I think it's proven to be the right decision, but we've had a very empty living room for the last 5 years. So I'm really pleased to announce tonight that through the generosity of one of our brothers who would like to remain anonymous, we're going to kick off finally furnishing the living room. We have a donation to start that in the amount of $50,000, which gets us very far along the way. I believe that some of you saw the plans yesterday. This is kind of the direction that we're trying to take it in. It's still not finalized. $50,000 would furnish a lot of my living rooms, but as it turns out, when you begin to look at the kind of commercial quality furniture that we want to put in and the kind of accoutrements that we think are appropriate for the house, that we probably need a little bit more money than that. So we will be launching a campaign to try to generate a bit more money on top of that, so that we can furnish this. One of the concerns of our brother who's donated this money is that, you know, he doesn't come back in 10 years and find that it, you know, has been totally run down and trashed. You know, and he obviously recognized that furniture has a lifespan, and you know, 5, 6, 7 years is you know, it's not unreasonable to expect out of something like that, but 10 or 15 probably is. So we're in addition to putting together the plan for the furnishings, we're putting together a plan to keep it current and keep it updated. So as I say, I think $50,000 is a very, very nice start. We do need to raise a bit more before we can get started, or we'll be doing some staging. You know, the House Corporation has a bit of money to kick in, but we've been running pretty much hand to mouth since the renovation. We've been fairly close to bankruptcy on a couple occasions, and so there've been some troubles there. We did finally collect a couple $100,000 from the campaign, and that takes the pressure off. Just to give you a point of reference, when we did the pro forma for the renovation, we thought that the chapter could carry a mortgage of $750,000. We ended up with a mortgage of $1.2 million. So we've been running, as I say, very near bankruptcy. Now we'll have our mortgage down under $1 million, and we have a little bit more breathing room. But we don't have a pot of gold that we're sitting on, unfortunately. So we will be trying to generate a little bit more to supplement the nice donation that we have. So just wanted to kind of kick that off. There's good news in there. We expect that by the start of next school year that the living room will be furnished, the living room and the library areas, and you know, we'll be doing that inside the confines of what we can raise. But we believe that by start of next school year. So sorry to the seniors, they won't get to see it, but the rest of you can enjoy it. So with that, I'll just get out of your hair. Thanks again. I hope you enjoyed it, and I appreciate everybody's travel again. Thanks, Orville.
Now for the real purpose of this dinner. This is a alumni reflection dinner. It's an opportunity for the alums to relate to the active chapter just what Delta Tau Delta meant to them. So I had planned on getting a list and having it all set, and I didn't do that. I apologize for that. But I would like to ask any alums that want to come up, in no particular order, to give us, you know, your reflections of being a Delt and what it was all about, and we'll go from there. So, do I have a volunteer that'd like to start us? Okay, Richard, come on up.
Thanks again to Orville for making all this happen. I think that's just great. Orville was also, or somebody was telling us today, that it was you, I think, who had read some letters from older alums, and they had indicated how much the house had meant to them and how emotionally involved they were and all those good things. And I'm going to try and keep a straight face when I say this. So one of the things the house, it didn't mean to me, but it did for me. And it wasn't the house itself, it was a Delt badge. John, pardon me for breaking up, John Reynolds was wearing his Delt badge, and I'm wearing my Delt badge tonight to share this story. So my wife can leave the room at this time. So I had a lot of fun with the chapter when I was at Purdue. And in that time, we had senior beards, we had cords, we had a lot of hijinks as pledges, and most of the fraternities on campus were active in wearing their badges, their fraternity badges. I have mine on tonight. So I was fortunate enough to graduate from Purdue and, excuse me, and go on to Stanford to get a master's. And in the summer before I went to Stanford, I got a job at Boeing up in Seattle. And Dave Hull, who was in Dave Keebler's class, was already up there. And so I had a place to live. And I was only going to be there for the 3 months. Dave took me in for a month. He put me in contact with 2 other guys who were not Coast Guard, commercial vessel captains. And they go out to sea for a couple weeks. So I stayed with one of the guys where his buddy was out to sea. And then the 3rd month I found a Delt. It turned out to be a Delt from MIT. And Bill lived in a houseboat on the Lake Union Ship Canal in Seattle. And so I went to live with him for a month. I'd never lived on a houseboat. And we would come back from Boeing after work, look down at the water. If the water was calm, we'd go water skiing. It wasn't until I was about to leave. Oh, Bill's nickname, by the way, his last name was Schmidt, so his nickname was Bull. Bull Schmidt. Bull told me that there was no real plumbing on the houseboat. It just flushed right into the bay, and then we went water skiing. But also over the summer, I met a fellow named Bill Yates, who was a Theta Chi at Stanford. And he said to me, do you want a job when you come down to Stanford? And I said, doing what? And he said, a lot of the guys in his fraternity took tickets at the football games, just ticket takers at the football games. And I thought, what a great opportunity to see the student body. I was only going to be there for a year. Probably no chance of meeting a woman, even a girl. Studies were hard, so I said yes. So I did. And one of the games, partly into the season, after everybody was in and the games were started, we'd have one guy posted, a couple guys, posted out at the gates, just to do gate control. So I'm out there one day by myself, essentially. Nothing's going on. And a fella and his girl came out. Sorry. And Norma was wearing Rod's fraternity badge. And I said, hi, I'm a Delt too. And that's how Norma and Rod stopped to talk to me. We chatted a minute, and Norma said, apparently based on my charming personality, would you like me to fix you up with someone? And I said, you bet. And my roommate, graduate school roommate, Tom, was also a Delt from Texas. So Norma fixed us up with her twin sister and this other woman. Attractive young woman, I must say. So who's going to take which of the two girls? So remember, this whole thing happened because she, Norma, was wearing Rod's Delt badge. So wear your badge. So Tom, being from Texas, was fascinated with Stanford's abbreviations. Memorial Church is Mem-Chu. Hoover Tower, Hu-Tau. So one of the girls was poli-sci. And can I introduce you to the history major?
Thanks. Okay, anybody next? I know that you're Delt Queen, so okay. Anybody else?
I just want to make it very short.
Okay, come
All
on.
my success is due to Bob Burke. Bob, would you stand up?
Is that true? Is that really true?
My pledge sign.
Yeah, and what happened?
I told him to remember me.
All my failures are due to Jim Carney.
Fortunately, you don't have a lot, but that's good.
Yeah. Hi, I'm John Reynolds, for those of you I haven't met yet. And and by the way, I'm very pleased that all three of my pledge sons are here today. Yeah. Dennis Winstead, your accompanist today, Bob Harrington, and Phil Tevis. Yeah. Yeah. Great. Guys, thanks for coming back. That paddle got a lot of use. Well, we don't do that anymore, though, do we? I've shared many of these things with my table mates down here, or undergraduates. But I just wanted to say, you know, as a kid growing up on the farm in Indiana, and my dad, who basically had an 8th grade education, but thought it was worthwhile to pay for the kid to join the fraternity, and he turned out to be very, very useful. For me in terms of personal development, but also most importantly, as we've all talked about today, is the relationships you establish that 50 years later, as Orville was saying, you come back in and within minutes, it's like the 50 years had just disappeared. And this is what I was trying to convey again to my table mates, and what a great thing that you have here as undergraduates, because at your age, whoever the hell thought we'd live to be this old? You know, I mean, it's one of those things. We're glad we did, but on the other hand, we have some very favored friends who did not, and we wish they were here with us. But you know, there's over the years, it's just a matter of life, and so you should enjoy the relationships that you have today and try to renew those, as Orville was saying, by getting together more often than every 50 years, if you can, because it's just a great personally rewarding experience to get a chance to get together with folks you really enjoy and have known for many years. So I encourage all of you to do that while you can. It's just a great thing to do. And the fraternity experience, the Greek experience in general, is just a great self-development things for people coming in from all different cultures and neighborhoods. And the fraternity has that to offer. And particularly Delta Tau Delta, who takes special pride and efforts for personal development and life skills. The ROAD program, for example, is designed to assist young men at these impressionable and early stages to learn new things that they're going to need for their careers, for their life, throughout their life. So the fraternity provides those kinds of things, and it certainly did it for me. Thank you.
Next. You got it. Come on now.
Okay. I made some notes. I came to Purdue. Excuse me. I'll get there. I came to Purdue after my father died 4 years prior, and I was an only child, literally. And I was looking for who I am, you know. And the fraternity was it. On our pledge road work, we had an Orchids and Dungeon version where people get up and tell you what you're good at and what you're not so good at. That was the first enlightenment I ever had of some of the deficits in my personality. Yeah, right. And I remember Hal Crane saying, I don't know whether it's your German background or whatever, but you got to tone it down. And then I realized that I have the kind of an attitude that can honk people off when I say good morning, if I say it in the wrong way. So that was a reflection on things that I needed to do. And then I realized a little bit more about what fraternity was and brothers were. And coming from a home in northern Wisconsin, there was this first Christmas where I wasn't going to go home. Couldn't find a way up there. I mean, you couldn't fly. Trains don't go anymore. Didn't have a car. So I was kind of moping around the fraternity house, and Wally Helmick said, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm staying here for Christmas. He said, why? I said, because I don't have a way home. He said, well, take my car. Now, Wally came from Los Angeles. His family apparently was fairly wealthy, having to do with automobile parts, and he had a 57 Thunderbird two-seater. So I proceeded to get in his 57 Thunderbird and drive 1,000 miles in a week to get to northern Wisconsin and come back. That was neat. And Dave Earhart, remember Dave? You guys? Captain of the crew, big, strong guy. He was a senior, I was a sophomore. And he was in the Marine, and they were going to have a camp out that weekend. And he said, Tyler, yeah? He said, I got to ask a favor of you. I said, okay, what can I do? He says, I need to borrow your underwear. Being from northern Wisconsin, I had some of that funny quilted stuff, you know. I said, here you go, Dave. So he tried it on, and sleeves came way up to here. The bottoms came way up to here. But he was happy. And, you know, it just struck me about how one brother can help another regardless of status. And that's kind of neat. And then we had the great pledge class, moved them all to with Madison. As a pledge class, we had a project, and we decided to kidnap all the actives. And we set it up with the management and the BGR. And we said, and let me preface that with the fact that at that time, Purdue was locked down with regard to alcohol. You could not have any alcohol in the building. You couldn't do anything. And some of these guys that were in the juniors and sophomores, you know, would kill for a beer, but if they got caught, they'd be out of school. So what we did was we arranged with the Delt House up in Madison on a weekend, and some fraternity ladies up there, sorority ladies, and we said, okay, we're going to bring a bunch of the actives up, and we kidnapped them. When the sororities closed, as you said, John, on midnight or whenever the hell it was, we had the trucks there. We had a cold keg of beer in the back of the trucks.
I was on that truck.
Yeah, you were.
Tell these guys they're not supposed to listen.
And you know, you thought these guys would have died and gone to heaven. They sat in the back of that truck, and they had a second mechanism worked out so you could park off to the side. This is before interstates, you know, so you had plenty of opportunities to pull off to the side. We got up to Madison, Wisconsin, where beer was eligible at 18, so you could go down and buy it at the Memorial Union. And we were at the Delt House right there on Lake Mendota, and we just had an awful good party and a lot